Hi everyone and welcome back to my latest video. So today I'm going to be going back to my YouTube roots a little bit and I'm going to be making a baking video. So I'm going to be making a cake today and I'm going to be showing you how I do that. The main purpose of this video is to talk about improper fractions and mixed numbers and going between the two. So there is going to be some of that in the recipe. So if you are in the second fraction chapter of Hard Math for Elementary School, this video would be perfect for you. All right, well, let's go to the kitchen. Okay, so this is the recipe that I'm going to be making. As you can see, it's a brown sugar bundt cake, but kind of as I always do, I'm never actually making what the recipe says. I've kind of made my own changes to it, and so I can send you this recipe, but you will also see how I'm going to make this. So first up, since I'm making a bundt cake, I made sure to get my bundt pan ready and floured and buttered up. And now we start to get into the ingredients and measuring and maybe some actual math. So the first thing I have to do is whisk together the flour, nuts, baking powder, baking soda, and salt. So let's start with that flour. The recipe calls for 2 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour. So one way I could measure out 2 1/4 cups would be to take my 1 cup measurer, 1, 2, put 2 of those in there, and then to go ahead and switch to my 1 cup measurer, my 1/4 cup measurer and do an extra 1/4 cup. However, let's say that I don't want to have to do more dishes than I have to, and I don't want to have to waste this measuring cup and use 2 different measuring cups to measure the same thing. So let's say I only wanted to use 1 measuring cup to measure out 2 1/4 cups of flour. How would I do that? Well, to do that, I would have to turn 2 1/4 cups into an improper fraction. So for my choice of which measuring cup, I'm going to go with the 1/4 cup because we know that we have that 1/4 left. And so we are going to have to use a 1/4 cup. My next step is how to express that 2 cups part in terms of 1/4 cups. Well, how many quarters are in a whole? There are 4 quarters in a whole. In 2 whole cups, that would be 8 quarters. So 2 cups is equal to 8 1/4 cups, plus our extra 1/4 cup means I need 9 of these filled with flour to go in my bundt cake. Ready? There we go, 9 1/4 cups or 2 1/2 cups of flour. All right, so now I'm gonna add my 1/2 cup of hazelnut flour. If you don't wanna use hazelnut flour, you can just put in more regular flour. So now we add 1 teaspoon of baking powder and 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. And finally, the last ingredient in this step is 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And now I'm going to whisk that all together. Get it all combined, and then we're going to move over to the stand mixer for the next part of this recipe. There we go. So here I've got my brown sugar, 2 cups of brown sugar and 2 sticks of butter in my stand mixer, and I'm going to just cream those together until they're nice and fluffy. I won't show you the whole process because it's going to be really loud with the mixer, but I'll show you what it looks like at the end. All right, so there it is. It's nice and mixed together. It's probably a little darker than you might be used to, but just because we're using brown sugar this time. So now I'm going to add in my eggs one at a time, and I'm going to keep mixing. Again, I can't really show you that because it's going to be way too loud, but you'll see it when it's done. All right, so here we've got the creamed butter and sugar mixture, but now the eggs. I put 3 eggs in there in total, 3 eggs all mixed in, and now it's time for me to add a couple different extracts. Okay, so first up is almond extract here, and I only want a 1/4 teaspoon of that, so that's what I'm gonna put in. All right, here's my 1/4 teaspoon. I always think it's funny, it looks kind of just like water, but it smells a lot like almonds. So I'm gonna put that in. All set. So next up is vanilla extract, and we're gonna have to use some conversions here again because the recipe calls for 1 1/2 teaspoons of vanilla. Now I could use this is a 1 teaspoon measuring cup. I could use 1 teaspoon and then 1/2 teaspoon, but I don't want to have to get those both dirty with vanilla. So what can I do instead? Well, I can turn 1 1/2 into an improper fraction. It's going to have a denominator of 2 because of that extra half part. how many halves are in one? Well, there's 2 halves in one, so I need 2 half teaspoons for that, and then an extra half teaspoon for my third one. So I'm gonna end up with 3 half teaspoons. So 1.5 teaspoons is equal to 3 half teaspoons. And I just realized you guys can see my reflection in the vanilla bottle. That's kind of funny. Okay, here's my final half teaspoon of vanilla going in. I couldn't show you the rest of them because I don't have 3 hands and I had to pour with one and then hold the measuring spoon with one. So anyway, here's my final half teaspoon in there, and now I'm gonna just mix that together a little bit more to make sure all those extracts are included. All right, so now it's time to alternate mixing in the flour and a cup of buttermilk that I have into this mixture. I have this up just to keep the flour from like flying out. So basically, I'm just gonna kind of mix it in a little bit at a time. I'm gonna alternate between flour and buttermilk, and then we should have a pretty good batter by the end of this. Okay, so here is my almost finished batter. So I'm going to, just as a last step, the recipe calls for prunes. There's no way I'm putting prunes in this. So I'm gonna replace it with some chopped up apples that I have, and then I'm gonna mix it all in. All right, I've got the apples in here. I'm gonna mix this in with my spatula. It's probably gonna be hard for me to do that while holding up the camera. And then I'm going to pour it in my Bundt pan, so I'll show you. All right, we've got it all mixed together. It tastes delicious. Yes, I tasted it. No, you probably shouldn't because it has raw eggs and flour. And now the final step is to put it in the Bundt pan and then put it in the oven. There you have it, the finished except for baked Bundt cake and a very messy kitchen. So I'm gonna put this in the oven. It's supposed to take 60 to 65 minutes. Sometimes things take a little bit longer in my oven, so we will see how long this takes. I'll definitely check on it, and I'll of course show you what it looks like when it's done. I'm planning on making a little icing too, but we'll see about that. And here we have the finished cake. So I put a little chocolate ganache on top as kind of an icing, but you can really put whatever you want on top. The recipe certainly didn't call for it. And I'm about to eat a slice of this, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna be really good.